Greetings, family. Welcome back to my channel. I was having a dialogue with a few colleagues about life after coronavirus. Okay, because in the middle of a pandemic, many people are panicking. We're not actually thinking about many of the relevant issues that really need to be discussed post coronavirus. Okay, now in my mind, I believe that when we return to group activities as usual, we cannot return to group activities with the same paradigm that we currently occupy. We will have to make sure that we enforce the standard operating procedures in restaurants, hotels, and public spaces. You know what I'm saying? And as far as urban planning, urban planning will definitely have to be revamped and have to be uh, revisited in terms of the way we set up our communities. Okay, for a long time, social scientists have argued that in many of our inner city areas around the world, we live in very closely compacted areas. There is not much space between units of housing, and in many neighborhoods, some of the houses are 5 feet away from each other, 6 feet away from each other. You know, particularly in the ghetto areas, we have town planning and urban planning that has exposed us to easy transmission of viruses due to having these homes too close to each other and neighborhoods that don't allow for the proper space for families to have adequate social distancing. Okay, what we call social distancing is really this idea of observing personal space. And, in terms of hygienic rules, some things really need to be clamped down on because in public places, we have people who serve food and oftentimes they come to work with a cold or a flu. So I was discussing this with a few colleagues, and it dawned on me that we will have to fundamentally change many things that we have actually undertaken as a society so that we can avoid situations in which there is an ease of transfer of disease from person to person. Okay? And this will take many forms. I don't think anybody has the blueprint for this new world. But what I imagine is we need to basically revisit putting protocols in place, particularly for tourist destinations. There should be more adequate screening, and in fact, people should be made to run the full gamut of screening for these various transmittable diseases before they even travel. How do people attain travel documents and there was no actual health screening to indicate that this person has a virus that they could take to a potentially vulnerable community? So things of this nature, travel restrictions and screening will definitely have to be revamped. But in terms of the way that we live, this will cause us to revisit how much pollution was being funneled into the atmosphere. Okay, and the fact that this brief shutdown has actually reduced harmful emissions in the atmosphere dramatically. And so we must really consider that our way of life fundamentally has not been good for the planet and it's not been good for our own health, even for the health of the animals, the plants, and the ecology of the earth. All right, the barrier reefs. Okay, cruise ships were dumping their waste in our waters, you know, without any type of repudiation from governments. You know, people have been dumping nuclear waste in the earth. We just had some earthquakes. So these things are giving us an indication that we need to fundamentally revisit our way of life and if it is a sustainable way of life. All right, family. Just wanted to leave this short note with the community. I wanted to share some aspects of a discussion. I think it is a beneficial discussion. We all need to consider life after Dorian. Pardon me, life after coronavirus. All right. In the wake of Hurricane Dorian, here we have a worldwide pandemic. All right, a species wide threat, but one that we will overcome uh, in time. We just need to consider how will we create a society that will not make this kind of situation possible again. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all these dynamics. One love.